Is the PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So the properties of indifference curve, as we already discussed, on indifference curve slope downwards. If a customer wants to buy more of one commodity, means always he will buy less of other commodity. That is we discussed in this diminishing marginal rate of substitution. If a customer wants to have more and more of the commodity, one commodity means he has to give up the second commodity. So if a customer is ready to give up some units of the first commodity means he will have the addition of the second unit. So always, if a customer goes up for one more unit for a single one commodity means he has to give up the second commodity. So one increases means the other one decreases. So the curve is a downward sloping curve from your left to right. Is it clear? Yes. Property 2, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, have you stopped sharing? PPT is not visible.
Okay. Just a minute.
Okay, ma'am.
Just a minute, we got those. Now is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Property 2. So this property 2 says indifference curve is always convex to the origin. And this is because of the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. This is the diagram which we already discussed in the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. So the length of delta y refers to the units of the commodity which a consumer was ready to give up, and delta x is the units of the commodity which he is going to add. Instead of delta y, he is going to add delta x. So in our example, the marginal rate of substitution is decreasing, that is from 5:1 to 4:1, 3:1 and 2:1. So the give up rates is decreasing from 5, 4, 3 to 1. Likewise, the adding up unit is constant, that is one more unit of the second commodity. So according to our example, if a customer is ready to give up 5 units of the mangoes means he can add one more orange. This is the combination B, and on the combination C, if a consumer is ready to give up 4 units of mangoes means then he will add one more, that is 2 plus 1. Likewise, delta y is the units which are giving up, delta x is the units which is adding up. So delta y is decreasing from 5 to 1 and delta x remains constant throughout this process. It's in the number 1, that is adding up one more unit. So delta y is decreasing and decreasing. So this gives the curve a convexity. So the indifference curve is the convex curve, and that's the property 2. And this is the property 3, that is indifference curve cannot intersect each other. That is, we already discussed the in the indifference map. In the indifference map, we are having so many indifference curves. Out of those indifference curve, the indifference curve which is near the origin, the smallest indifference curve gives the lesser level of satisfaction. That is, which is near the origin, and the indifference curve which is far away from the origin gives the highest level of satisfaction, and this depends on the number of units which a consumer is going to consume. That is, if a consumer going to consume a little units of two commodities means the curve will be near to the origin, so that gives the less level of satisfaction. And if you are having one more indifference curve which is above the first indifference curve means those indifference curves gives higher levels of satisfaction, and this will be clear if you see this one. Is the property 4 visible? Guys, is the property 4 visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. In this diagram, we are having 4 indifference curves, which is named as IC1, 2, 3, and 4. So, the curve which is nearest to the origin, IC1, gives the lowest level of satisfaction, because in this IC1, it shows the combination of commodities which is lesser than the other indifference curves, IC2, 3, and 4. And likewise, the last one, IC4, gives the highest level of satisfaction. Out of these 4, this IC4 has the highest level of satisfaction because it can contain more units of both the units of the commodity than the other 3 indifference curves. So the indifference curve, while the indifference curve goes higher and higher to your right, gives the higher level of satisfaction. Is it clear, guys? Is it clear? Yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, ma'am. So, the indifference curve cannot intersect each other because each and every indifference curve has its own utility. So, it can't be intersect, and also it can't touch the x or the y axis. If it touches means the other commodity. If it touches the x axis means good x is equal to 0. But there is an assumption the consumer have to buy two commodities. It's a combination of commodities. So it doesn't touch the x or the y axis. Is it clear? Okay. So the next one is the price line or the budget line. So in this price line or the budget line, the price of the commodities and the income of the consumer were taken into account, and here the prices of the commodities. So consumer is going to buy 2 commodities. So the prices of those 2 commodities are fixed, constant price of commodities, and the income of a consumer is also fixed one. So the consumer with this fixed money, he is going to buy those commodities, those 2 commodities where the prices are fixed. So this is the case, and this is the definition which is in the quotation: combinations of 2 goods which the consumer can buy, spending his given money income on 2 goods at their given prices. So prices are also fixed, and also the income of a consumer is a given thing. So it's also a fixed one. And is the diagram available, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So in this diagram, if a consumer is having a fixed money, so if a consumer spent all his money on 40 movies, that is spent on movies means he can see a maximum of 40. On the other hand, if a consumer spends all his money on the other commodity, books means Y commodity, the other commodity, second commodity, books means he can buy up to 20 books. Is it clear? So the maximum amount of Y commodity is 20 and the maximum amount of X commodity is 40. If he spends his whole money, limited money, on X commodity means he can see. If he is on the X commodity alone, if he spend for one commodity means he can see up to 40. He can see up to 40 movies. On the other hand, if he spends all his money on the second commodity means he can buy up to 20 books. So he cannot go for the 21st book, and also he cannot go for the 41st movie if he spends all his income. And So the consumer has a choice to choose between this 20 and 40. So this 20 is the on the y-axis, this 20 is the maximum limit, and on the x-axis that 40 is the maximum limit. So the consumer has to buy below 20 and below 40. So he can choose any combination between this. That is below 20 books and below 40 movies. He can choose his combination. This red line which join the maximum units of the commodity, that is 20 and 40. That red line is called as the budget line, which says the affordable area and the non-affordable area. So that is the separation part. That is below the budget line. The consumer can buy any combination. He can choose his own combination because his behavior is a rational one. So he can choose his own combination, which gives him a maximum level of satisfaction. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next one is the consumer equilibrium. So consumer equilibrium is the concept which comes under the ordinal behavior. Here also the maximum satisfaction of the consumer is considered his minimum income. So always we discuss this point on the assumptions. The consumer is having the limited money in his hand, and he is going to buy those two commodities which are available in the market. So out of his limited money, he is going to maximize his satisfaction. And we are having one more point, that is non-saturation. That is the consumer, it's an assumption, the consumer doesn't attain the maximum satisfaction point. So always he is trying to attain the maximum satisfaction for this limited money income by buying those two commodities. And the 4 points are the assumptions for this consumer equilibrium. The first one, IM, refers to the indifference map. So the indifference map contains more than one indifference curves. So we are having numbers of indifference curve in this indifference map, and fixed amount of money. Consumer is having limited money income, and the prices are constant. The commodities prices are already given, and rational consumers. Consumers always tries to maximize their satisfaction because he is having limited money and two commodities. So he always tries to attain the maximum satisfaction. Is the diagram visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, okay. So in this diagram, we are having indifference map that which contains 3 indifference curves. Here it is named as IC1, IC2 and IC3. And also we are having a budget line which is AB. AB line is the budget line, and we are having 3 indifference curves. And out of these 3 indifference curve and the budget line, these two are cut each other or tangent in 3 points in this diagram. This is according to our diagram. Point C, point E and point D. So on these 3 points, either two curves are cut each other, on one point it is tangent. At point E, the indifference curve is tangent. And as of now, according to this diagram, which point will give the maximum level of satisfaction to the consumer? What do you think?
Ma'am, point E.
Why point E? Why point E?
Ma'am, because this indifference curve is at higher level of satisfaction.
Yeah, okay. Because point C and D are in the lower indifference curve, that is in IC1, and only the point E is in the higher indifference curve, IC2. And I am asking one more question. If we are having one more point in the IC3 curve, that is it's an for example, it's a point F. So if there is some cut on the indifference curve 3 and there is a point F, means can consumer choose the point F as his equilibrium point?
No, ma'am.
Why no?
Because it's above income level.
Yeah, okay. That is beyond his budget. So he can offer any combination which is below his budget line. So he can buy any combination of commodities which is below the line AB, and this indifference curve 3 is above the AB line, so he can't touch that line, so he have to buy within this AB line. So out of this AB line, he has the maximum satisfaction in point E, which is the higher indifference curve IC2 than the point D and C in IC1. Is it clear, guys? Okay, this is the same diagram. In 3 indifference curves are there. AB budget line is there. So point E is the equilibrium point where the consumer chooses and attains the maximum level of satisfaction with his limited money income. So he chooses OK of good Y and somewhat YX of good X. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma. So this is in the consumer behavior theory. So on the consumer behavior theory, we discuss this consumer behavior based on the utility analysis. Utility analysis. Just a minute. Yeah, okay. This utility analysis was broadly divided into two. One is the cardinal and the other one is the ordinal. So under the cardinal, the first one, we discussed 2 laws which was given by Marshall and a concept of consumer surplus that's also by Marshall. So Alfred Marshall gave 2 laws and 1 concept to support his cardinal utility. And the next one is the ordinal analysis. On the ordinal analysis, 2 authors, Hicks and Allen, they gave that theory which is called as indifference curves. So on the indifference curve, that is with the indifference curve, they proved, Hicks and Allen proved, the consumer will behave.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
the slides are uploaded.
Slides are not visible now?
Not, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That's the end of the consumer surplus. I'm going to upload a new one. That's why I just stopped. Okay, so Hicks and Allen, they proved the consumer behavior will be based on the ordinal approach with their theory indifference curve analysis. And we also discussed one more concept in the ordinal utility as the consumer equilibrium. That is how a consumer reaching his maximum level of satisfaction with the limited income by consuming more than one commodities. So this is in the case of ordinal and the cardinal utilities, that is based on the consumer behavior. And next thing which we are going to discuss is the demand and supply analysis, which is the second topic. What do you mean by demand, guys? Okay, now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. So what do you mean by demand? What is demand?
Ma'am, it's consumer.
Yes.
Need.
Yeah, what is demand?
Ma'am, demand is nothing but in particular time.
Gerard,
It's a need
I
of
didn't
a
hear your
company.
voice. It's breaking.
Ma'am, it's consumer power, ma'am. To buy.
Consumers power to buy a commodity.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Bridget. Yeah, okay, so if a consumer is having some willingness towards the purchase, and also if he is affordable needs, so the willingness plus the affordability makes a demand for the particular product, and also the need and the want. If a consumer is in the need of a product means, and he is having some willingness to buy the product, and if he is having enough money to buy that product means, he is going for that action. So all these put together, and that is called as the demand. And here These are the things which we are going to discuss in this demand analysis. So concept of demand, the law of demand, demand schedule, demand curve, types of demand, and determinants, the factors which determines the demand and the exceptions. And one more concept is elasticity of demand, that is how the demand changes due to other factors, and we are having several types on it and how to measure the elasticity of the demand. So these are the things which we are going to discuss on the demand analysis. The same part is also for the supply analysis too. Yeah, okay, so demand. This is the definition which was given for demand. A relation between the price of a good and the quantity that a consumers are willing and able to buy during a given period, other things being constant. Yeah, okay. Here also we are having, that is we are having the other thing being constant assumption. Only the price and the quantity are changing. For example, we are having so many factors which affects the purchasing power of a customer. So he is having so many things which attracts or which makes uh, towards his purchasing pattern. But here only the price of the commodity is the factor which induces a customer to buy a product. And this demand only says about the relation between a price of a commodity and the quantity demanded of that commodity. Other things are ignored. So here in this demand, just we are going to see about only two factors: the price of the commodity and how the quantity demanded changes according to the price of the factor. If the changes in the price means what will happen to the quantity, and if there any changes in the quantity demanded means what will happen to the price. Only these much relationship are going to discuss under the topic demand. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm asking one thing. If a price of a chocolate comes down means, now for example, if a chocolate costs ₹100 and the price of that chocolate comes down to ₹95 means what will happen to the demand of the chocolate?
Comes down, ma'am.
Demand also comes down. That is price
Demand comes
decreases.
down.
Demand increases.
Demand increases.
Ma'am, demand will be more, ma'am.
The cost will be
Demand will
decreases,
be,
the demand will
yeah, okay. So it's
Willingness to pay will be.
willingness to buy. Okay. So, yeah, okay, but so it's a normal mankind behavior. If price of the product comes down means he will, that is who are buying that particular brand, particular chocolate for that particular commodity, the demand will increase. So this is the normal situation. So here also in this demand concept, just we are going to analyze these relationship between the price and the demand. How the price changes, and out of if it is a cost means what will happen to the demand. Otherwise demand is a cost means what will happen to the price. So these are the things which we are going to discuss. And the next concept is the law of demand. That is the same relationship between the price and the quantity demanded are going to discuss here. So it also says there is a inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. If the price increases means the quantity demanded for a same commodity. This is for a single commodity. If a price increases for means the quantity demanded will decrease. Otherwise, if the price decreases means the quantity demanded will increase. So the price and the quantity demanded of a particular product relates inversely. So there is a negative relationship between this price and the quantity demanded. So if one factor increases and the other factor decreases means normally this makes a curve slopes downwards. So yeah, so the demand curve slopes downwards from your left to right. Is it clear? It's also like the indifference curve. If one factor goes up and the other comes down means automatically it gives the negative slope to the curve, so it slopes downwards. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So the next slide says about the demand schedule and the demand curve. So this table is called as the demand schedule, which says about the price and the quantity demanded. For example, here, if the price of a particular commodity is rupees 100, means the quantity demanded is 500 at that price. If the price decreases to 75, means the quantity demanded also increases. So likewise, if the price is 10, means the quantity goes on increasing and increasing. So here, if the price of a commodity comes down, means the quantity demanded will increase. So this says the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, and this is according to the law of demand. And take a notebook. And just plot these points on a graph. Quantity demanded on your x-axis, and price is on the y-axis. Measure the quantity demanded. QD refers to quantity demanded, capital Q with small d. Quantity demanded on the x-axis, and prices should be in y-axis. And plot the points and draw a line. What's the shape of the line which you got? Have you guys drawn? What is the shape of the line which you got?
Rectangular hyperbola.
I can't hear.
Rectangular hyperbola.
It's triangular hyperbola. Yeah, okay. So, the curve slopes downwards. So it's a normal situation. When the price increases, means the quantity demanded decreases. So that line, that curve is called as the demand curve, and normally the demand curve is sloping downwards. And here we are having so many reasons. Out of these so many reasons, just we are having few to discuss in the class. So new customers. So if a particular product or in the new market region or any geographical region or in sub-markets, if there is more number of consumers, means what will happen to the quantity demanded for a particular brand? If a consumers are going to purchase a particular brand, and on that market or in that particular region, if there are more consumers, means what will happen to the sales of that product?
Cost will increase. More.
Normally it will increase, because when the consumers are more and more, the quantity demanded will increase. They will demand more and more commodity. So while the consumers demanding more and more commodity, means automatically the price of that commodity comes down. So if one increases, the other decreases, means brings out the negative relationship. And law of diminishing marginal utility, and how this law of diminishing marginal utility makes the downward slope of the curve, how it affects the demand. Diminishing marginal utility, it says about the continuous purchasing of a commodity by a consumer. If a consumer purchases continuously more and more commodity, means automatically the prices will comes down, prices will comes down. So there will be a negative relationship. One increases, means the other decreases. And income effect, here it is deals with the real income. That is, if a consumers income increases, means automatically they can spend more on the consumption. It's a general view. If a consumer earns more and more income, means his income is divided between two. One is for savings, the other one is for consumption. So if the income increases beyond the normal level, means automatically the savings side will increase than the consumption side, because if his need or want is fulfilled, mean automatically those amount will be on the savings side. So he will have more and more income. And substitution effect. So if commodity is having substitution, means for example phone, we are having many special features in each and every phone. So we are having new series of phones. So if we are having new invention or new thing in the new features in the phone, means automatically for that commodity there will be many substitutions. So each and every brand is having the introducing a new phone with the same feature which is in the other brand. So a consumer can substitute the commodity according to his need and want. So when he is substituting a particular commodity, means automatically the substituted commodity's demand will goes up and the prices comes down. So these are some of the reasons which makes the downward slope of the curve. Like this, you are having many reasons. Just go through or get the points from the textbooks. Next slide, which says about the types of demand. So here also we are having several types of demand, and we are having so many commodities which falls under the 2 to 3 types of these demands, these kind of demands. We can start from your left side, producers goods demand and consumers goods demand. Okay, in general, the commodities, all the commodities are divided into producers goods, that is capital goods, and the consumer goods, the end use product. So producers goods are the commodity which are used for further production, and consumer goods are the end use product that is used for the sold for the customers. And we are having several commodities which acts as the producers as well as the consumer commodities. Any example for those kind of commodities which acts the producers as well as the consumers? Dual role of a commodity. It can be the producer's goods, also it can be the consumer's commodity. Any example for this kind of commodity?
Wheat flour.
Wheat flour, how it is uses as the producer's goods and as consumer goods?
Consumer goods means you can, like we are using in homes. Okay.
We can use for chapatis and rotis. Yeah, okay.
For production use, they can use it as an ingredient for producing biscuits or any other
for bakery
food
items. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay. So the producers and the consumer goods. And next one is the durable and the non-durable commodities. So from the name itself, it says what are durable commodities and what are non-durable commodities.
Vegetables.
Durable vegetables.
Like few commodities will be like durable, and a few will be like limited time. Durable will be high.
Yeah, okay. So the commodities which have short lifespan, the commodities which are perishable, those comes under the non-durable commodities. Any example? Any example for perishable commodities, non-durable?
Pen, pencils.
Pen, pencils. Okay. And the commodities which has long lifespan comes under the durable commodities. Okay. Moving to the next one, individual demand and market demand. So did you guys remember the table which we seen in the demand schedule? Demand schedule says about it has the information about the price and the quantity demanded. If those informations regarding the price and the quantity demanded is from the individual, means that is called as the individual demand. Or if those information are from the certain region or from the certain market, means that is called as the market demand. So individual demand says about the individual's demand, and market demand is more than one person's demand. So it may be from a certain area, that is based on the sub-markets or some geographical area or those things. So the collective informations of all the individuals comes under the market demand, and individual demand referred to a single person, single customer's demand. And next one is derived demand and direct or autonomous demand. What do you mean by direct demand? Direct demand, what's the difference between direct and indirect demand, or autonomous or derived demand? Okay, if the car was bought means, yeah, come on.
I think direct means we directly consume the products what we got from anywhere, and indirect means we will use for some services or for some any works.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So the direct demand
Ma'am,
is
like
yeah.
hello.
Yeah, yes,
Ma'am,
yes.
like complementary products, ma'am.
It's not like complementary. Complementary means it's free of cost commodity, right?
Ma'am, like leave it, ma'am. Nothing.
Yeah, okay. So
ma'am, if demand of one commodity triggers the demand of another commodity,
yeah,
maybe derived.
exactly. Which triggers the other commodities demand is called as the derived. So direct. Any example, Kapitan? Any example?
Ma'am, like computer, like we directly buy computer, and like we and the indirect demand will be like more means like motherboards will be made, more RAMs will be made. Like it will be like a indirect thing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Okay. And also, if you have bought fountain pen means it's a direct demand, and you have to buy ink for that pen too. So that is derived demand. And if you are buying some eatables means, and you also buy some tissues along with that. So one is direct, the other one is derived demand. And you bought some bread or snacks item means automatically you goes for some sauces or jam. So that is derived. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Next one is the industry demand and the company demand. For example, if a product is based on the brands means branded product for a particular brand, that comes under the company's demand, and all brands of a particular commodity put together, and that is called as the industry, whole industry. So in the industrial demand, we can add any commodity comes under any brands, but under the company demand just we can add only a particular brand's product demand. For example, in mobiles we are having several brands, so the mobile industry includes every brands. It includes all the Samsung mobiles, Nokia, Vivo, Oppo. It includes each and everything. Every brand can be included under the industrial demand, and on the company demand particular brands, for example Samsung mobiles only comes under the company demand, otherwise this Nokia only comes under the company's demand. Is it clear, guys? So industry includes every brands, and company just deals with the particular brand's company. And next one is the short run and the long run demand, and this is from the name itself it says which commodity these belong to. That is based on the time period. So the products which can be used for a short period. It depends on the nature of the commodity and the features of the commodity. And next one is the complementary and competitive goods. What do you mean by complementary commodity? Complementary?
Ma'am, like if I have the printer is there, ma'am, that in that printer that cartridge that one, like uh, uh, it is something like if we buy the printer, then each and every time it is necessary to for us to buy that cartridge, ma'am, like that.
Okay. Is it at free of cost, or are you paying for that?
Ma'am, like it will be that will be high, ma'am. the cartridge will be price.
Okay. So here it's a complementary commodity is a commodity which joins with the major commodity. That is, it's like a joint. The next one is the joint commodity, joint demand. Both are similar. So if a commodity is jointly demanded, means, or if the commodity is given up but free of cost, means that is called as the complementary commodity, and with price is called as the competitive commodities, competitive goods. So the demand for this complementary may be included. That is, on the complementary commodities there will be no competitive because it's a free of cost, and the competitive goods customers are paying according to their need and want, or if they are paying some money to fulfill their purposes. And joint demand is also similar to derived demand. That is, the products which jointly demanded, two or two more commodities. And composite demand is the type of commodity which occurs multiple purpose. Those commodities comes under this composite demand. Any example? Composite demand: a single satisfies more than one purpose. Any example? Okay, the same thing, wheat flour can be seen here, can be taken as an example, and always milk can be taken as an example. So milk is a single product, but it can be used for various purposes. We can use it with rice, otherwise we can use it for some gravies, or otherwise you can use it for the curd. So milk is a single product which can be used for multiple purposes. So those type of commodities demand comes under the composite demand. And last two, price demand and the income demand. So from the name itself it says, if the prices of the that is, the demand of a commodity is affected by the prices, means those commodities comes under this price demand. And income demand, so when the income increases, the commodities quantity demanded changes. So those kind of commodities are called as income demand. So these two are the common type, price demand and the income demand. So for example, if a single commodity is taken, means that particular commodities demand can comes under 2 to 3 types. So we can say either for jointly demanded, otherwise for the derived demand, and also for the competitive demand. So it's based on the feature of a commodity. So a single product can be under several subheadings, under several kinds of demand. What's the time? What's the time, guys? Ritika, Pavitran?
4:51.
4:50. 52. It's already crossed. Okay, wait a minute. So we can wind up the class. I'll download the attendance list. Kindly wait.
Hello,
Yeah, yes.
ma'am. Here, what is composite demand means? What, ma'am? I couldn't get it.
Composite demand, that is a single product which satisfies the multiple purpose, which can be used more than one purposes. So those kind of commodities called as the composite demand commodities, which has the composite demand.
Okay, ma'am.
A single product satisfies more than one purpose.
Then how it differ from joint demand?
Jointly demanded means a product, for example, car and fuel, means car can be used for travel from one place to another, and fuel is used in the car. So those kind of products are called as the jointly demanded products.
Ma'am, can you repeat, ma'am?
Okay. Jointly demanded products are, we cannot buy a single product. We have to go to the other product too, which is derived demand, which is like the derived demand. Is it clear? So we have to buy those two products together. We can't buy either first product or the second one. We have to buy those two jointly, those two products jointly.
How it can be differ from the complementary demand?
Complementary demand is based on the features and also from the producer side. If they want to give it free of cost means producers have so many reasons behind that one. So if they want means they can give. So those kind of commodities comes under the complementary.
And ma'am, composite demand once again, please. Like.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Composite demand, that is a single demand satisfies more than one purpose. It's a single commodity, but that commodity can be used for various purposes, used by various persons. So those kind of commodity are called as composite commodity. And demand for those commodities is are composite demand.
Any examples like?
Examples we can say we can use, already I told the example of milk, but also the wheat flour can be used, and we can say other things for phones. Phones, it's a single commodity, but we can use this phone for discuss with your friends, and we can use nets, we can use for various purposes. So a single commodity satisfies your purpose more than a time or for use for more purposes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Jairaj. Can you wind up, guys? Shall we?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Pavitran.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
Pa.
ma'am.
Thank
Okay.
you. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you. You can leave. Okay, Pa.
Thank you, ma'am.